Recently, I've also seen some so-called self-proclaimed calligraphers online. For example, we can check out a video that the calligraphy community has shown me.
Why can't it be written this way? This is a moment. Is structure more important? Or is it about breaking free from the inherent rules, while also understanding the aesthetic composition related to the characters themselves? Metaphors, highly connected to emotions. This is a kind of freedom, and at the same time, it's also a kind of cough.
He talks about himself, deconstructing from the structure. He doesn't even understand what structure means. Structure involves resolving contradictions. In Taoism, this is the yin-yang relationship. The Tai Chi diagram shows yin and yang, with yang and yin and yang. Reducing everything to dots is chaos. His calligraphy is mostly chaotic. The Tai Chi diagram has two parts, the yin and the yang. There is a white dot in the yin, which means there is yang in the yin. There is a small black dot in the yang, which means there is yin in the yang. You can't turn everything inside into a pockmarked figure, right? It's all dots inside. His calligraphy is chaotic, lacking structure. Brush translation is the brush's movement, creating elastic lines. Without order, you can't really talk about structure. Secondly, he mentions what's called brush translation. What does brush translation mean? It refers to the movement of the brush on the paper. The brush tip is soft, so it has elasticity. By straightening the brush, the various angles create different elasticities, allowing the brush hairs to leap across the paper, creating the beauty of the line that wraps around. That's what brush translation is about, the relationship between brush strokes. Segments, but when the E are connected together, it's like when you throw a stone over it will form a running line. The parabolic line forms and continues its trajectory. The trajectory connects. Think of it like this. Using the brush like a mop wears it out before completing a character. Interactions with others and objects reflect character. This is called a broken brush stroke. You can understand it this way. Using the brush is like using a mop, just pushing it straight up. I feel that if you use the brush like this, you won't even be able to finish half of the character. The brush will already be worn out and damaged before completing a piece. How a person judges his character is determined by how he treats others and how he treats inanimate objects. This is the truest side of him. He treats inanimate objects so wastefully. See the big picture from the small. I won't say much more about that. He also mentioned that this is a kind of freedom, and there's also a kind of adherence to freedom. What I see is the kind of zero-cost freedom in some Western countries today. Do you think this kind of freedom is really true freedom? It is indeed freedom, haha, but is this freedom right? I don't know what he adheres to, and he also talked about some kind of emotional release, right? The right to vent. Yelling on the street is also a way to vent emotions, but this isn't really art. If you want to say that using a brush to doodle is great, well, at least you're having fun with it. But if you want to call that calligraphy, I'm sorry, I don't agree. Right? You can't really call that art. If you want to say that using a brush to doodle is great, well, at least you're having fun with it. If you want to say that's calligraphy, I'm sorry, but I don't agree.